Lore of the Old World, Armies of Legend, Chapter 1, Chaos Dwarfs. The Chaos Dwarfs, the Dawizar, or Uzkul-Drathzar as they refer to themselves in their corrupted tongue, are an ancient and evil race. Theirs is a saga of great and hardy people whose nobility would become warped into utter malice, and whose stubborn refusal to fade from the world would lead them down a dark path through the study of arcane engineering and demonology, and into damnation in the service of malign powers older than the world itself. Chaos Dwarf sorcerers rule over the desolate empire of Zar Nagrund with iron-fisted malice, both as lords and masters of all they survey, and as priests of their dark god Hashut. Their lore is terrible and ancient, involving the study of machines, the mastery of forgecraft, weapon-making, and the terrible chaos magics gifted to them by Hashut. But the price of these sorcerer priests pay for their power is a dark one indeed, for a great curse lays heavy upon them. As the magic they work seeps into their bodies, it evokes changes that are both unique and horrific. Even the most cautious and adept of sorcerers is not immune, and, painfully and inexorably, their bodies are petrified into immobile stone. There are relatively few Chaos Dwarfs, and each and every one of them is a highly trained and disciplined warrior sworn to the service of one of the Chaos Dwarf sorcerers, body and soul, whose martial skill is matched only by their cruelty. Of these warriors, only those rare few who achieve great glory can hope to earn promotion to the rank of Seneschal or Castellan. Bull Centaur Taurochs are the most trusted vassals of the sorcerer priests of Hashut. They are hulking, savage creatures whose strength and endurance far exceeds that of a Chaos Dwarf, and, thanks to their strange forms, they are far swifter in battle. As they age, their flesh hardens and distorts, almost as if it becomes living metal, and rather than heal naturally from injuries, they must instead rely upon their sorcerer masters to repair their wounds with steel sutures and brazen splints. Occasionally, the infighting and backstabbing amongst hobgoblin ranks produces a particularly successful and feared killer who will rise to prominence and style themselves Khan, taking after the wilder nomadic hobgoblin wolf clans of the eastern wastes. These skulking killers can prove useful for marshalling their kin in battle, but should they prove too successful and threaten the dominance of the Chaos Dwarfs, they will most likely end up impaled over their lord's gateposts as a reminder to others that Zarg Nagrund is not a meritocracy. Hobgoblins, living in tribes across the great steppes of Kislev, employ giant wolves as fast-moving and ferocious mounts. Such beasts are highly prized for their ability to outrun most dangers. The Infernal Guard are drilled ceaselessly by cruel Castellans, and barracked in the burning deeps beneath Zar Nagrund. Their lot is to fight an unending battle against the horrors that abound in the desolate wastes nearby, a regime that only the strongest survive. The greatest amongst these warrior elite will be selected to join the Infernal Ironsworn, the personal bodyguard of the covenant of sorcerer prophets that rule over Zar Nagrund. Each Infernal Ironsworn is a highly trained and disciplined warrior, often with scores of years of battle experience to draw upon, who goes into battle with the fire and suffering of their dark realm forged into the very fabric of their blades and hammers, graven in smouldering runes of torment and death. Chaos Dwarfs are an unnerving sight in battle. They are brutish, grotesque figures plated in black or burnished armour of heavy plate and jagged scales, crowned with tall helms mounted with flame-tongued spiked coronas or sharpened horns. Their livery is bright and bloody, and their distorted faces, if they are seen at all, are bestial and filled with malice. Their presence is intended to inspire fear in their foes, and they have lost none of the toughness or skill at arms of their western dwarf kin. Created by the foul sorceries of the sorcerer priests of Zar Nagrund, the Kadai are almost mindless elemental forces of destruction, half demon stuff and half raging fire drawn from the magma of the deep earth. The Kadai are birthed in the boiling blood of Hashut's burning sacrifices, given form by and contained within an armoured framework of articulated iron and rune-stamped bronze. Arguably the most treacherous of all the goblin and orc kin, hobgoblins are taller and leaner than ordinary goblins, yet nowhere near as burly and brutal as orcs. The Chaos Dwarfs long ago realized that hobgoblins were servile, craven, and malevolent, all traits which made the hobgoblins of the Darklands eminently suitable as lackeys and disposable minions. Sneaky gits are rightly regarded as being devious and treacherous, and are utterly distrusted even by their own kind. These murderous backstabbers are habitually armed with many curved daggers, and for every knife they wear openly, it can be wagered there is at least one more concealed about their person, ready to be plunged into an unsuspecting foe's back. Chaos Dwarfs employ bodies of giant wolf-mounted hobgoblin raiders as scouts and light cavalry in battle. They are commonly drawn from the more nomadic hobgoblin tribes which roam the fringes of the southern Darklands. They are lured into service with the Dawizar as mercenaries, though the wages paid by Chaos Dwarfs are notoriously poor. These raiders, all bandits and robbers by disposition, are, if anything, even less reliable than their foot-slogging kin, their mounts allowing them to flee with great speed when the need arises. As their name suggests, bull centaurs are twisted amalgams of Chaos Dwarf and ferocious bull in aspect, the unnatural fusion creating hulking, monstrous beasts far larger than either, and filled with cannibalistic appetites. Many centuries ago, when the dwarfs of Zorn Uzkul first turned to the worship of Hashut, some amongst them became horrifically mutated, their bodies warped into forms pleasing to the Father of Darkness. Thus were the first bull centaurs born. The Chaos Dwarfs are masters of steam technology. They build colossal steam-driven devices for working their great mines, and engines of great destruction for crushing their enemies. One designed to see widespread service is the Iron Demon, a compact, armoured, steam-driven traction engine. The steam boilers that provide these machines with motive, power, to haul heavy armaments and munitions to the battlefield are cunningly designed so they can also be used to work pressure-fed weapons such as cannonades and wall breakers. This means that every Iron Demon is also a powerful war machine in its own right, a fully mobile artillery piece, and murderous killing engine able to smash through fortifications and hack down ranks of living soldiers with equal ease. The great Tauruses of the Darklands burn with a terrific intensity, so much so that their bodies are wreathed in fire and choking smoke. Indeed, so angrily and so hot do they burn that their flesh renders swords and axes molten and blunt. When a great Taurus moves across the ground, sparks fly from its horns and red lightning plays about its hooves. As a great Taurus swoops through the air, heat waves shimmer at its coming and choking black clouds swirl in contrails behind it. With each snorting exhale, flame erupts out of the beast's flared nostrils and an oily smoke curls from its gaping maw. In its rage, even the monster's eyes seem to smoulder. The Lamassu is a wise and crafty beast that makes its lair in the Darklands. The Chaos Dwarfs believe it to be a rare mutation of Great Taurus, one that is not only acclimated to magic, but that also lives and breathes the very stuff of sorcery. Indeed, the Lamassu possesses a minor but potent spellcasting ability, the backwash of which manifests as sorcerous black clouds that curl about the beast every time it breathes. This magical exhalation protects the Lamassu from hostile spells. Furthermore, enemies fighting a Lamassu in melee often find the smoky threads of sorcery befouling their magic weapons, dampening their power, and preventing them from striking the beast to full effect. The Death Shrieker is one of the more diabolical weapons of the Chaos Dwarfs. Bound up within its munitions are howling, malevolent fire spirits harvested from the cinders of Hashut's sacrificial altars, and it is the hellish shrieking of these spirits when loosed that gives the weapon its name. The packed, multiple warheads of the Death Shrieker detonate in the air above the battlefield in a storm of fire. Screaming, fanged tendrils of flame plunge downwards from the blast and expend their strength actively seeking out victims. The tormented spirits are far from discerning, though, as to whose flesh they burn, and the Dawizar must be cautious lest their own suffer from the wrathful weapon. Dreadquake mortars are amongst the largest and most effective of all the mighty siege weapons deployed by the Dawizar. The Dreadquake's deadly projectiles are fired by steam pressure that is generated by a boiler and contained within a pressure vessel, conventional gunpowder being far too dangerous given the volatility of the Dreadquake's unique and powerful shells. These shells are of a secret construction whose arcana is the sole preserve of the Chaos Dwarf sorcerer lords and prophets of Hashut's. When fired from the Dreadquake, they burst into a roaring blood-red light, smashing into the ground like a hammer blow from the gods, shattering buildings and bleeding crimson energy from the wounded earth. A fiendish weapon first conceived of for use against the ravening trolls and other unwholesome monsters that spawn and multiply in the Darklands, the magma cannon is something of a cross between a field artillery piece and a furnace. It is designed to spew molten metal and fire upon its victims, horrifically burning them to death. Hobgoblins are not deemed capable of crewing complex war machines. Instead, hobgoblins wheel to battle crude but effective bolt throwers. These lightweight war machines are fielded to great effect in support of the Dawizar armies, though it is not unheard of for accidents to occur, leading to the skewering of many an unwary Chaos Dwarf. The endlessly burning forge fires of Zar Nagrund howl with the tortured souls of the sacrifices that fuel them. Within gargantuan workshops that teem with rank upon rank of indentured artificers, great steam hammers rise and drop in a perpetual rhythm, their deafening clamour an unwavering drumbeat that sets an impossible pace for the unfortunate workers that toil until they drop, forging the hellish weapons of the Dawizar. Upon the still glowing blades of the wicked axes and the baroque armour plates that flow endlessly from these terrible workshops, the sorcerer priests of Hashut inscribe evil runes and craft leering demonic faces, binding the evil spirits that gather about their fires to the spoils of their industry, before quenching the shrieking blades in great cauldrons of blood. The Chaos Dwarfs study forgecraft, weapon making, and the dark magics of Hashut himself in equal measure. Using this forbidden law, they forge their terrible weapons and craft their arcane devices. Rightly are the Chaos Dwarfs known as the armourers of the ruinous powers, and their creations are made not simply from iron and fire, but blood, souls, and the raw stuff of chaos itself. Many such accursed weapons are bartered and traded with the champions of the North in return for captives, gold, and stranger treasures. But not all. The finest weapons of the Dawizar are jealously hoarded.